running on. I'm a pillar you got used to leaning on. Underneath it, there's a blessing. Oh, and I'm hurt, 'cause I feel like I'm holding up the world. When I let these running down, you start saying for me. When you're right in the ground, like the day you're gonna see for all. Just for a moment, can I not be strong? So how about now? Can I this burden? I deliver each and every time. I'm a giver. I don't think about what's mine. You keep asking, you keep taking, and there's no reciprocation. I shouldn't have to do this by myself. When it is my job, take it off of me. When you're in the ground, it's the day you see for all. Just for a moment, could I not be strong? Can I love this burden? I'm a river, keep running on. I'm a pillow you used to lean, just as smooth, just as smooth. Can this burden? Can you take it off of me? When you're in the ground, that's the day you will see for all the love, just for a moment, be strong. Wish I knew how to leave this world down. Yes, that's Jennifer Hudson bringing us in today with Burden Down. I can't wait to talk about it. But right now, let me just greet you and say welcome to Community Voices. Sawubona to you on this Tuesday morning that you are listening to this. Let me go ahead and say right now that this is a pre-recorded show. The phone lines are not open. The phone lines are not open. And I know that that is frustrating for some of you because it is frustrating for me. We did not have the phones working last Tuesday. Now we pre-recorded the show and you can't call in. I feel it too. So I apologize, but we had to do it because Toney is going to be out of town. Yeah, he's out of town. And so we would not be able to do the show together unless we pre-recorded it. So here we are with this pre-recorded show. But I do want to say, Sawubona to you in the spirit of oneness. Sawubona is an invitation for us to recognize the oneness that we share because we are human. We are bound by our humanity. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You cannot change that fact, but you can change how you respond to it. So we will be talking about how to receive each other, embrace each other, accept each other as one as we go through this conversation. So thank you all so much for listening in. Thank you so much for your support of KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. We would not be here were it not for you. We are so glad that you support us every way that you can. It was just some people in the studio the other day, maybe today, buying t-shirts. And so we just thank you for all of the many ways that you show up, that your support manifests itself for us. We really, really appreciate you. But before I get started talking about Jennifer Hudson and the EJI tidbit, let me let you get greeted. Let me allow you to be greeted.
Allow
him to greet you.
It's like that now.
Yeah,
it's like
Toney
that
Orr.
now. Good morning, everyone. And once again, just so grateful and thankful that you are tuning in to the show this morning. As Denise said, as this show goes on Tuesday, I will be, I don't know, in between Shreveport and Houston, or in Houston, doing work. But I'm so happy that you're tuning in this morning. Also, I just want to say thank you for those who have called to sign up to be volunteers at KABF in any capacity that that's needed. I really appreciate that. And don't forget, this Tuesday, come out to Whitewater Tavern at 2500 West 7th Street, where there's going to be a gathering of DJs and community, where you can come out and meet some of your favorite DJs, some of your favorite shows, and meet and greet them and interact with them. And from my understanding, it's going to be happy hour from 5 to 7. So if you're not doing anything this evening, come out and mingle with the DJs and hosts of KABF 88.3. And I'm looking forward to the conversation, because that's my homegirl, Jennifer Hudson, right from the same neighborhood that I grew up in Chicago. And so I'm really looking forward to having this conversation.
Do you know the address for Whitewater?
2500 West 7th Street.
2500 West 7th Street. And it starts at what time?
At 5 o'clock.
Okay. I don't, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I wanted to make sure that everybody heard that. Yes, if you can, we really would appreciate you showing up. I usually do not play the same song 2 weeks in a row because I'm trying to do the best that I can to showcase as many Black artists as possible. So there's only been 2 songs that I've played twice. One of them was Free Your Mind, but because that was the time that I had gone to see Hotep, and that is his absolute favorite song that I have ever played. He says, free your mind and the rest will follow. He says that every time I talk to him. So the day that I wanted to give you the update about Hotep, I wanted to play that song in honor of him. And then I did not realize it until I walked into the house after Tuesday, that I did not link the song to the conversation last Tuesday. There was so much going on last Tuesday with the phones and the reverberation and the noise. And sometimes I get thrown off. Sometimes people are talking in the studio while I'm trying to be on air. It's just a lot. And so I realized that I have failed to make the connection, and the connection still stands with this conversation on today. So I wanted to play it again. And so when I walked into the house and I saw the piano, I was like, oh my goodness, I completely forgot, because Jennifer Hudson is singing this song with nothing but the piano. These days you've got so much technology that allows you to do whatever you want to do to your voice, to bring in whatever kind of instrumentation you want. There's so many options available to you as a vocalist to what you can do. But she sings this song with the piano alone, and that by itself attracted me to the song. But I really want to give a shout out to my friend Susanna, who is in Nebraska. She stumbled up on this song. She will be in concert in Nebraska in January, maybe February. I have to get the exact date from her, but she'll be in concert. So she's preparing for her performance. And so she stumbled up on this song. She shared it with me, and I'm like, whoa, this is a powerful song. So Jennifer Hudson is asking the question, she's talking about the burden that she's carrying. She talks about it from a female perspective, from a gender perspective. But I really think that for this conversation, we can also pick it up out of gender. We can include gender, but to also talk about it as it relates to race. So we're talking about always centering Black bodies in this conversation about oneness. Like, how do we think about the lived experience of Black folks, Black being defined by the most expansive term that includes everyone from the African diaspora. So how do we take the lived experiences of Black folks and honor them and embrace them and own them as our own, as one humanity, as one human race, and then say, how are we going to work together to achieve collective liberation in light of all that we are dealing with, all of the burdens that we are carrying? So everybody may be carrying a burden. That's not just for Black people alone. We are just centering Blackness in this conversation. And so that's what she's asking. She says, when I lay this burden down, who's going to take it up for me? When you run me in the ground. She doesn't say if you run me in the ground, but when you run me in the ground, that is the day that you will see, for all that I have done, I'm alone. Can I just for a moment, can I just not be strong? I just need to lay, tell me how. How can I lay this burden down? And so I feel like that rings true when we think about the history of Blackness in America, when we think about the continued achievements and accomplishments and contributions of Black folks. We've been carrying this burden of America's original sin all of this time. When will we be able to? And then at the very end, she says that verse twice, when I lay this burden down. But at the very end, Jennifer Hudson says, can I? She asks the question, can I lay this burden down? She's asking if you will. The next part says, can you pick it up for me? In other words, will you carry the burden? Can I stop carrying it for? I've been carrying it all this time. Can somebody else come alongside me? Can somebody else join me on this journey? Can somebody else realize that if we are going to be humans together, we got to bear each other's burdens? Like, all of us have got to get in on this together. Can I? And so she says, that's the question that she asks at the very end. And that's the question that we're going to be raising, that's being raised today when we have this conversation that starts with the EJI tidbit. But let me just pause for a moment, see if Toney has anything to say about his girl, Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah, that's homegirl. She's really, I love the song. I love her voice. And I love the acapella that she's singing with only the piano.
So she sings a cappella at the very end when there's no piano. So she's a cappella because there's no music at all. And so that's when she asks the question, can I lay this burden down? Can you take it up for me? For all I've done, I realize I'm alone. When you run me in the ground, that's the day that you're going to see that for all I've done, I'm still yet alone. So this tidbit from EJI is for today, December 19th, 1865. In 1865, December 19th, South Carolina passes a law requiring Black quote unquote servants to enter into labor contracts with white quote unquote masters and work from dawn to dusk and maintain a quote unquote polite demeanor. Okay, let me say that again. South Carolina passes a law requiring Black servants to enter into labor contracts with white masters, work from dawn to dusk, and maintain a polite demeanor. So when we talk about burden, the burden of being Black in America started a long time ago, and it continues today. I was thinking about conversation. One day, Solar Beam called in, and he made a statement about something to the effect of, we need more balance on, I need more. It was directed to me. I need more balance on this show because I'm always talking about, and I don't really remember, but what I remember, what I felt, because I don't remember the words, but what I felt was we need more balance. You're always talking about all this dark and dreary stuff, and we need more balance. We need to talk about something happy, talking about something nice. That's the way I understood the comment. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel like, whatever show, a lot of conversations we had, or things we discuss on the show, it may not always be uh, about quote unquote happiness. I think when you start looking at America, there's a darkness to America. There's a tragedy to America. And there are issues with America, and you just can't brush those issues aside. You can laugh and joke, you can make fun, you can get entertained, but at the end of the day, those things still exist and they still persist. And so you have to talk about it.
All right, so I said, okay, I can receive that. I don't mind. I can receive that, no problem. And so today I said, well, I want to talk. I'm still going to be talking about Blackness, and I'm going to be talking about the effects of racism, not just not just what happened in 1865. That's the tidbit for you to make sure that we are always lifting up and raising up to your level of consciousness our history, so that we can engage it in a better way, so that we can prevent it from happening again. At the rate that we are going, which is backwards, we are liable to continue the same tragedies and atrocities that we are presently experiencing, that we've experienced in the past. We are setting ourselves up to continue to experience them in the future with the following generation. So it's important for us to have that tidbit. And so I said, well, it doesn't have to be dark. The conversation that we have for me to talk about how the burden of being Black is the burden of being Black affects Black folks in every aspect of our lives. I don't have to talk about enslavement. I don't have to talk about infant mortality rates. I don't have to talk about lynching. I don't have to talk about police brutality. There are other topics that I can share that still help us see the burden of that Blackness carries in America, actually all across the world, because no matter where you live, the darker your complexion, the more burdens you have to bear. Would you agree with that, world traveler?
I will.
World traveler.
I will agree.
Absolutely. And so I want to take us through a few aspects. Like, let's just look at some parts of the world and how we respond to Blackness as opposed to how we respond to people who are non-Black. And I want to just think about culinary arts. I'm always looking at the cooking shows. I'm always interested in the cooking shows. I don't cook, right? But I want to have all the latest spices. So I'm always interested in that. And what's interesting to me in the world of culinary arts, when I look at a chef that is not Black, that we lift up in America, his name is Gordon Ramsay. Have you ever heard of Gordon Ramsay? Gordon Ramsay had 20 restaurants. I don't know how many he still has, 21 TV shows, and his net worth is $63 million. Did you hear me say 63 million?
63.
$63 million. This non-white man who came over to America, and America embraced his white skin, his pale skin, his whiteness, and we have elevated him up to being one of the highest chefs, the most famous chefs in America. Now, he's from the UK, but America has embraced him and decided that we're going to support him to the point that he is making $63 million. But there's another chef, a Black man named Eddie Jackson. Do you know Eddie Jackson? He used to be an NFL cornerback.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yes, for the Patriots. And so Eddie Jackson is also a chef, born in Georgia, living in Texas. He is Black. He is a man, just like Gordon Ramsay. He's male. And I wanted to make sure I got a man. So he's a man, and he's in the culinary art field, just like Gordon Ramsay. And he has TV shows. He's on TV shows as well. He has 8 TV shows. He doesn't have any restaurants just yet, but he has 8 TV shows. Guess how much his net worth is? Can you guess?
Do I take out his NFL?
Yeah, don't talk about the NFL. We're just talking about him as a chef.
I'm just going to just guess $5 million.
$1 million. Born and reared in our country with his black skin, he got $1 million. But the white man has $63 million, and he wasn't even born here. Go figure. So we don't have to talk about dying to still talk about how blackness affects who we are in this world. I can also talk about sports and entertainment. In the area of sports and entertainment, have you ever heard of this young woman named Taylor Swift?
Yes.
What's the latest thing you've heard about Taylor Swift?
The latest two things is that she has now become a billionaire.
A billionaire? Hush your mouth.
Yeah. And that everybody is just mesmerized about her relationship with a NFL player named Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce. Why do you think they so excited about Travis Kelce? Is he like a really good player? You know a lot about sports.
Yes, he is one of the best NFL players playing. He's tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Has a brother that plays for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he is an outgoing personality. So,
well, Taylor Swift has also been named Person of the Year.
Yes.
Okay? She's been named Person of the Year. And one of the reasons why she was named Person of the Year is because of her accomplishments as an artist. And I said, wait a minute, let me see if I can think about a Black person who has accomplished great things as an artist. And the first person I thought about was Simone Biles. Do you know Simone Biles?
Mm-hmm.
She is the greatest gymnast in the world.
In history.
Black young woman. You got Taylor Swift, white young woman. Well, she's got a lot of accomplishments as an artist. We're going to name her Person of the Year. Simone Biles is the greatest gymnast in the history of this world. And she just happens to be married to an NFL player. Why are we concerned about that relationship? Travis and Taylor have taken the world by storm. Oh my goodness, this artist with this football player. Well, what about Simone Biles with her football player? Why is it that we're so concerned about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and not about Simone Biles and her husband, whose name is Jonathan Owens? Why? What's the difference? Can you tell me? Why are we so concerned about Taylor Swift? Why are we not concerned about Simone Biles? And see, a lot of people will say, well, you're just looking for stuff. No, this is the reality that people overlook. Blackness and the contributions of blackness and the greatness of blackness all the time in favor of someone who is less black, non-black, white, pale. What other word can I use? Caucasian.
Pale. That's old school. For those of you around my age, they would know when you said pale.
Theo?
Pale.
Okay, well, I'm not your age, so I don't know what that is. But for those of you who know, and so when we talk about carrying the burden of blackness, part of it is that everywhere we go, we are not celebrated and embraced for all of who we are and all of what we bring into a space. There may not ever be another Simone Biles. Is that possible? There never be another Simone Biles? May not ever be. So if you want to name a person of the year, seems like to me you would choose the person who has gone down in history as being the greatest in the world. If you're saying that one of the reasons why Taylor Swift is Person of the Year is because she has such high accomplishments.
And when you say that, when you said that, and I thought about Simone Biles this year during the World Gymnastics Championships, she came out of retirement.
And
won, I think, 4 gold medals and a silver medal. And that's when they proclaimed her the best in history, the best. You know, and you know, and it does make you wonder. We know why, you know, but it makes you wonder to a lot of, you know, to a lot of people. Should make you wonder, why did Simone Biles, you know, because when you think about it, you know, she's representing this country. She, you know, she has just been decorated with, you know, not only Olympic medals, but world championship medals. She has more world championship medals than anybody, male or female, in the history of the world championships. And so she did that this year, representing, like I said, her country. You know,
this country, your country,
this country. And you can't recognize her as female person of the woman of the year.
Well, it was just person of the year. It wasn't about gender. It was just person of the year. But wasn't it before she went into retirement where she did this one jump or flip, and they wouldn't give it all the points that it deserved because they said the level of difficulty was too high for anybody else to be able to compete with. So they didn't want to give her all of the points because they were saying, wait a minute, nobody else is going to be able to. Do you remember? This woman is bad. Do you remember? And yet she was not chosen to be person of the year. That's just interesting to me. And when I think about power positions, I've been not really following, but a little bit following the University of Pennsylvania and what's been happening with the president there. Her name is Liz McGill. Are you following that?
Yes.
So she had to go in front of Congress to talk about how the university is responding to anti-Semitism, right? And so when she was in front of Congress, there was a question posed to her by Congresswoman Elise Stephanie. And when when Elise Stephanie asked this question, she was calling for, she said, when there is information or when there is messaging that calls for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment? Harassment, does it? That's the question she is asking to the president of the University of Pennsylvania, Liz McGill. And Liz McGill says, well, if we can show that it is direct, that it is severe, and that it is pervasive, we can absolutely say that that is harassment. That's what she says. But then she goes on to say, but you actually need to kind of take it on a case-by-case basis because it depends on the context of about whether or not you are going to classify the anti-Semitism as bullying or harassment. That is what she said. And that is what brought her under fire. Right?
That's what got her fired.
That's what, but first she didn't get fired first. Yeah. Well, yeah, she resigned. But first she didn't resign immediately. The donors start saying, we're gonna pull our money, right?
Right.
Jewish parents started saying that they were gonna rethink whether or not to send their children to these schools. We had protests on the campus. It was all of this going on because she said that it depends on the context. So Congress felt like she failed to convince them that they would adequately protect Jewish students. And they're not just we're talking about Pennsylvania, but we were having a conversation with Harvard, they're having a conversation with MIT. But this Liz McGill, she resigned because of this, because Congress is not convinced that you can protect these students. And you are in a position of power as president of this University of Pennsylvania. So if you, in this position of power, cannot protect these Jewish students, then now this is what's going to happen to you. We're going to force you to resign. I don't think she resigned on her own. They forced her.
Yeah, right? and so she resigned. The president of MIT, she resigned. The only person that didn't resign was the president of Harvard University, which is a Black
woman. She did not, and she got support from her board.
They
got support from her board. But if I talk about positions of power in McCurtain County, you've got this man who is the McCurtain County Sheriff, Kevin Clardy, Mark Jennings is the commissioner. Alicia Manning is the sheriff's investigator. Larry Hendricks is the jail administrator. All of them were all having a conversation together. And they were talking about Black folks. And one of them said, if this were back in the day, you take a damn Black guy and whoop his ass and throw him in a cell. If we could still do that, I'd run for sheriff. That's what he said.
That's what he
Take
said.
him down a road creek and hang him with a damn rope. You can't do that anymore. They got more rights than we do. They are caught on tape saying this, and yet the governor of Oklahoma, this is in Oklahoma, the governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt, is encouraging them to step back. Now, if these people in position of power are talking like this about Black folks, Liz McGill said it depends on the context. They're talking about a hypothetical situation. It depends on the context, how we're going to respond, and they forced her to resign. You got them talking about they still wish that they can hang people up by a rope, and you say, well, I think we should just encourage them. Are you convinced that they can protect Black bodies with this kind of conversation, with this kind of mindset, with this kind of attitude? Are you as concerned about Black bodies being protected as much as you are concerned about Jewish bodies being protected? Don't get me wrong. Jewish students need to be protected. Absolutely. I am not going to say, I'm not going to discount that in any way. But the same way you want to protect those bodies, why is that not happening in Oklahoma or in any other state? I can name a whole bunch of states, probably every state where that does not happen. And so these slights, they're microaggressions and they're slight. We're dealing with these kinds of burdens every single day. And Jennifer Hudson asked, can I lay this burden? Get you to take it up for me? Can I get you to take up the cause of the burden of Blackness, own it as your own, because we are one in the spirit of humanity, and say all students, all bodies should be protected no matter what. And if you can't protect them, we're going to fire you.
Yeah, and it goes back to this idea. And I know a lot of people, when we have these conversations, a lot of people want to say that, like with the tidbit or with history, that it was back then. It that doesn't happen now. There's equality. There's equity. We don't have to have affirmative action anymore because everybody is treated the same. But in reality, that's not the truth. And when it comes to Black and brown bodies, it's viewed as they're still viewed as inferior. They're still viewed as less. Regardless of what the propaganda say, regardless of what the pontificators say, it's still the truth. And so when you start talking about Black students, just talking about this in context of Congress in this conversation, when you start talking about Black students, it's more like, I think when they were talking about the admission standards that, Black students who are being led into these prestigious universities, they are lazy, they're not ready for the work, they're not this, and nobody said nothing. Congress did not say a word when these presidents came out and said that. But now, when it becomes Jewish students and the money starts to dry up, now it becomes an issue.
Yeah, we need to pause right now for a moment because we have our engineer, Russell. Woo-hoo! I want to make sure that he's going to be able to play this seamlessly for you. So we're going to pause for just a moment, and we'll be right back. And here we are, right back. Just like we said, thank you so much for tuning in. You are listening to Community Voices on KABF 88.3, where we are the voice of the people. We are not live on the air. This is a pre-recorded show. The phone lines are not open. The phone lines are not open on this day while you are listening to this because Tony is out of town. Yes, I'm going to blame it on you because he's out of town. Oh, okay. And we wanted to record together before he left. And so we were talking about Blackness, the burden of Blackness, because we were brought into this conversation by Jennifer Hudson, Toney's homegirl, as he says, from Chicago, Illinois, talking about laying, is it possible to lay this burden down, this burden that we're carrying, the burden of being woman, the burden of being LGBTQ, the burden of being Jewish, whatever your burden is. In this case, we're talking about the burden of Blackness, of being Black, having more melanin in your body. And so that's the conversation that we're talking about. We're making sure that we're not talking about death and dying and slavery, but we're still talking about what happens on a regular basis, every aspect of our lives. We've talked about the culinary arts. We've talked about sports and entertainment. We talked about power positions. Let's talk about education. So when we were talking about these university presidents not being able to, Liz McGill for University of Pennsylvania, not being able to convince Congress that they could protect the Jewish students, Congress decided, some House Republicans decided that they wanted to propose some education. They wanted to propose they want to combat anti-Semitism in education. So they want to propose legislation on a federal level that is going to combat anti-Semitism in education. They want to talk about bullying and harassment and intimidation. They want to make sure that it's part of the institution's code of conduct, that you make sure that you honor the heritage and the history of Jewish students and protect their bodies while they're on campus. And then Joe Hogan said he's going to author a resolution he wants to make November 9th, 2004 Anti-Semitism Awareness and Education Day in Pennsylvania. So I said on the federal level, but this is in Pennsylvania. So they want to make sure that they protect the heritage and the history of the Jewish people and the bodies of Jewish students on campus. They want to make sure that everybody in the institution understands that it is important to make sure that anti-Semitism is not something that you demonstrate on this campus. That is extremely important. And they want to make sure, Joe Hogan wants to make sure that on this day that he's going to declare it Anti-Semitism Awareness Day, it coincides with International Day of Fascism. I'm not making this up. Want to make sure that we're making sure that we're not going to ever be in a situation where we have a dictator as the one who leads us. All I can think about was Trump. Do you remember when Trump said on the first day I'm going to be a dictator? Yeah. The first day I'm going to be a dictator. So this Republican said, no, this is what we're going to do in response to anti-Semitism. I said, well, wait a minute. Well, you're going to do all of that in response to anti-Semitism, which is okay. I do not have a problem with that, what you're doing. What I have a problem with is when it comes to critical race theory that honors and talks about the facts of people who are Black and people who were formerly enslaved and the transatlantic slave trade and all of the original sin of America and that fuels capitalism to this day that people continue to benefit from. You don't want to talk about that. You want to introduce legislation for anti-Semitism, but you do not want African-American history taught in the schools. Help me understand.
I can't.
You can't.
I can't.
It's the burden of Blackness. It's the burden of Black that you can't. I wish the phone lines were open because I wish somebody would call in and help me understand it. I wish they could help me understand. I want to hear it.
I don't think there's no reasonable explanation. It goes back to just here in the state of Arkansas. As Sullivan said, Arkansas, the ark of safety.
I cannot believe he said that.
Even here in the state of Arkansas will not. The General Assembly in every session, this bill comes up, and they will not approve it. And that's a hate crime bill for African Americans. They will not pass it. They passed one for LGBTQ. They passed one for Asian Americans. They've even passed one for Muslim Americans.
But not for
African Americans.
We don't want to teach your history, but we're gonna pass legislation demanding that you have a code of conduct around people who are Jewish.
And if anybody,
and Jewish is not even a race.
And if you're African American here in the state of Arkansas, if you're called out of your name, if you are attacked, if you are subjugated to harassment or bullying, it's not a hate crime. But with all the other ethnic groups that are called out, you can say, as they say, a racial slur, you can be charged with a hate crime.
There'll be an enhancement. There'll be an enhancement on your charges. Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about culinary arts, sports, and entertainment. We've talked about power positions. We've talked about education. Let's talk about public schools. I don't know if you all are following the story about this young Black man. His name is Daryl George. He's 18 years old, and he keeps getting suspended because he has locks. Some people call them dreads. We don't call them that. We call them locks. And it is to wear locks is a commitment to your heritage. It is a commitment to your Blackness. It is a commitment to your culture and what you know and what you understand about who you are and how you express yourself, especially with your style, your hairstyles. And so he refuses to cut them because it takes a long time for you to grow locks. It takes because his are past his shoulder. It takes years and years. So this is a dedication. This is commitment. And so the school that he goes to is Barbers Hill High School. The school that he goes to has a dress code that says you cannot have hair that's longer than your eyebrows in the front and that goes past your shoulders in the back. So Daryl George does not, his locks, yes, they go past his shoulder when they are down. But he does not wear them down because he knows that if he wears his locks down, then they will violate the dress code. So he braids them and keeps them above his collar, keeps them out of his face so that he can abide by the dress code for Barbers Hill High School. But Barbers Hill says, well, we know that if he were to let them down, they would be too long and that would violate. So because it's possible that he could let it down and they would then violate, we're going to keep suspending him. So he has been suspended. He has been in an alternative school. He was in an alternative school for 30 days. And then they allowed him to come back. As soon as he came back, since he has not cut his hair, they suspended him again. And they said they are going to continue to keep him in school suspension until he cuts his hair or we get a court ruling that says that he doesn't have to. So they're going to keep suspending this 18-year-old who is in high school because his braids would violate the dress code if he wears them down, but he's not wearing them down.
Isn't there a federal law, or isn't there a law that was passed called the Crown Act or the Crown Hair Act that says that you can't force anybody to cut their hair or something like that?
Yes, the Crown Act. Crown, CROWN, stands for Create a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. That's what Crown stands for. Create a respectful and open world for natural hair. So what Barbers Hill High School is saying that this is not about the fact that they are locks. What this is about is the length of them. So because the length of them would be beyond his shoulders if he wears them down and beyond his eyebrows if he wears them down, then that is what he is violating. They are too long. And so in order to make sure he does not violate the dress code, he keeps them up, but they want him to cut them. So yes, this is in direct violation of the Crown Act. So I don't even know why we're having this conversation. So they're waiting on the ruling. But listen to this though. So this public school is spending all of this time on this young man.
Oh, this is a public school?
I thought so. Maybe it's not. You don't think it's a public school?
I don't know.
I thought it was a public school. I had to check it. I double check it. I thought it was a public school. But listen to this. Since Columbine in 1999, more than 338,000 students in the United States have experienced gun violence at school. Did you hear me? Since 1999, more than 338,000 students have experienced gun violence at schools. There were more school shootings in 2022, 46. There were 46 school shootings in the year 2022, more than any other year since Columbine. The United States Department of Homeland Security says if we know the signs of gun violence, we can prevent it and reverse the trend. They didn't say, let us work on legislation to make sure that we keep the guns out of school. They didn't say, let us pass a law about Awareness Day, Gun Violence Awareness Day. They didn't say that. They said, if we know the signs. But wait a minute, if you know the signs, let's think about Parkland. In Parkland, Florida, Marjorie
Stone.
Yeah, let's talk about that school, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where you had 17 students and teachers who were killed at that school. But so when the United States Department of Security says if we know the signs, well, the local sheriff had been warned for 2 years that this young man, Nicholas Cruz, wanted to shoot up the school. The FBI received specific warnings 2 times, and they failed to follow up on them. And Nicholas Cruz then ends up killing 17 students and teachers. But the United States Department of Security says, but if we know the sign, what you mean if you know the sign? So you're not concerned about you're not trying to figure out how to get these guns out of school, but you got people that's concerned about your locks. You can't learn because your hair long. Yeah. So because most of the mass shooters are white. So most of the children and many of the children, most of the children that get killed white.
Yes.
So the people that are always talking about the Second Amendment, by and large, are white, right? So these young children getting killed at school, but you don't want to talk about that. But you got the nerve, because these are white people at this Barbers Hill High School, white people who are harassing this young Black man because he refuses to cut his locks. So the burden of Blackness across every aspect. We've talked about culinary arts, sports and entertainment, positions of power, education, politics. Now, public schools. I thought it was a public school. I'm going to do some homework, make sure I'm right about that. Public schools. If y'all know, send me a note. Send me a text, 228-236-7440. Not a problem. But let's talk about politics. There is this man named Jonathan Majors. Do you know him?
Yes.
What you know about Jonathan Majors?
Jonathan Majors is, I hope we're talking about the same Jonathan Majors. He's an actor. Mm-hmm. Okay. He was in one of the Marvel Avenger movies. Mm-hmm. He was in Creed 3. Mm-hmm. He has been, I want to say, accused of some allegations of some sexual misconduct.
I didn't know. I know
domestic violence. Mm-hmm. Okay. My mistake. I want you to know, my mistake. Yeah. Domestic violence. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that's Jonathan Majors. And so he was also in Lovecraft Country. So those of you who have HBO and you watch that show, I know a lot of people watch that. I don't watch it, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yes.
You watched
it? I never watched it. I've heard of it.
I've heard
of it.
But people have told you should. Have they recommended it to you that you watch it?
It's been recommended, but I haven't.
Yeah, it's been recommended to me too, but I haven't watched it either. But he's also with Lovecraft Country. So the key word here is allegedly. So Jonathan Majors has not yet been found guilty of domestic violence. He has been accused of, it has been alleged that he has committed these acts of violence against girlfriends, former girlfriends. That's what he has been accused of. But he has not been tried and convicted, not yet. But still, he has already been dropped by Entertainment 360, who is a talent agency. He has been dropped by the lead company, who is a public relations firm. The Texas Rangers dropped him from the ad campaign that they had with him. The United States Army suspended an advertising campaign that he was narrating. He's lost all of this because of the alleged accusations that because people have said that he's done something that he has not yet been convicted for. And I'm focusing on that word allegedly because, you know, my older brother is a Republican. My mom is a Republican. And sometimes when we have conversations about politics, we do the us versus them. Like, y'all Republicans, y'all Democrats, we have those conversations. Y'all have those kind of conversations.
Yes, we do.
So we have those kind of, so y'all, and we'll talk about this. And so I was asking my brother, like, how is it possible that Donald Trump is running for the presidency? He was running for president of the United States, and he has been indicted in 4 criminal cases, and yet he is not only is he running for president, he is in the lead for the presidency, right? He's the leading candidate for the presidency, and yet he has 4 criminal cases. He's been indicted in 4. My brother said it's because those are just allegations. He has not been convicted. So until he's convicted, then he should still be able to run. Okay, then. Well, why has Jonathan Majors lost all of what he has lost over the allegations against him?
You know, you think about it with Jonathan Majors and looking at what he has lost. All these companies have dropped him over allegations. Trump has allegations, and he has not been dropped from nothing. In fact, his pockets increased every day.
Every day.
I think about. I was watching ESPN last night. They were talking about Tiger Woods and his son playing golf and everything, and somebody mentioned, one of the commentators mentioned about the problems that Tiger had in the past. And it got me to thinking the same thing, you know, when you start talking about this along Donald Trump. So Tiger Woods there was never an allegation. There was never charges.
There was allegations.
Huh?
There were allegations against Tiger Woods. Didn't his ex-wife accuse him?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about allegation of any type of domestic violence or anything like that. You know, his ex-wife called, you know, it was about his infidelity. It was about his infidelity.
Okay, so you're saying about domestic violence.
Yeah. And so many companies dropped him. I'm Buick, you know, they estimated he lost something like $500 million in endorsements. I always looked at it like this: because his wife was white, and they looked at it and said, you know, one of the golfers who used to be his best friend, his name is Jasper Parvenick. Jasper Parvenick, who introduced the two, him and his wife, Tiger's wife, said that if I had known what a monster he was, talking about his infidelity, if I'd known what a monster he was, I would have never introduced him. So coming forward, isn't Donald Trump a monster?
I was just getting ready to what? He got 4. How many times he been married?
And he is cheated on every wife. And also, he is on record. Not hearsay, not someone saying he said
roll the tape.
He's on record saying all you have to do is just go up to a woman and you grab her by the private and they'll give it to you. That's what we do. And nobody.
Listen, that's just locker room talk. No big deal. That's just locker
room talk. But you know what? I bet you, if I said that right now, not only are they gonna come after KBF, they're gonna come after me. You know,
Local 100.
I mean, it's gonna be like
Get Loud, Arkansas.
Everybody, I'm gonna lose everything. If I said something like that, how insensitive, how, you know, that's sexist. How, you know, how you gonna? But he says it. Not only that, you know what? Sometimes in these conversations, you start to look at these discussions, you start to look at the disparity, you start to look at it. And even though we want to move to a place of one humanity, We want to move to a place where we all get along. We want to move to a place where we're all accepted. But there's these bumps in the road that you like, I still got to get over this bump. Why can't the road be flat? But there's people out there that want it doesn't want to be flat. And like I said, like Denise said, with everything going on in public education, with children dying in public education, you worried about somebody's hair. It doesn't make any sense.
And so last Tuesday, I talked about healthcare and I talked about food insecurity. I talked about education. I talked about the criminal injustice system. I talked about housing. I talked about religion. And then today I was like, okay, well, let's talk about culinary arts and sports and entertainment and powerful positions in public schools and politics. So every aspect of our lives, those of us who the world has labeled as Black because of the melanin, the amount of melanin in our skin, every aspect of our lives, we could say with Jennifer Hudson, when I lay this burden down, because we have to carry it every day. I said that last Tuesday. For those of you who are not Black, who do not live the Black experience, you have the privilege of saying, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to deal with it. You have the privilege of saying that. But for those of us who live it, we carry the burden every single day. We can't put it down. I would put it down if I could. Would you, Tony? If I didn't have to carry this on my back. Now, I'm not talking about put down being Black. That's not what I'm talking about. But all that the world attaches to it, all that the world includes with it that is adverse, that adversely affects my life. That's what I'm talking about putting down. I would put it down.
Yes. And so, like I said, by the time this airs, I will be traveling. I will be going to my different offices. And one of the things I always think about before I leave and start heading out on my trip, I will be driving through Louisiana, Texas, and possibly Mississippi. And automatically in my mind, I know there are things I have to do. I have to drive, make sure I drive the speed limit. Can't go over. I have to make sure that I don't do anything. I have to make sure that I get stopped. I have to present myself and going back to the contract that we talked about, that I have to be polite. I have to be, I can't question. I can't do anything because if I do, I may not make it back.
And the tidbit wants you to be polite when you are you are servant to you be polite to your master. Like listen to that. And so you have to be polite so that nobody will feel like they're afraid of you. Like you don't feel like you are, they don't want you to feel to be an aggressor. They don't want you to be aggressive. And so all of this way of being, and you have to get yourself together so that you can be, so you can interact with other humans, especially those who are in positions of power. All of that is part of the burden of being Black. So at the end of the song, Jennifer Hudson asks the question, can I lay this burden down? And the next statement is, can you take it up for me? Are you willing to say no one should have that burden? Not just we coming to help the Jewish students. Yes, and we absolutely should. Who's coming to get these burdens from Black folks? Are you willing to? Is it possible that we don't have to continue to live up to the mythology of being strong? Because she said, can I not be strong? How long have we been strong? How long have we continued to exist under these kinds of conditions that pervade every aspect of our lives? Can somebody else join us on this journey of carrying this burden? That's the question that we have for you as we get ready to go. I'm looking at the clock, making sure that we don't run over. But again, I'm so sorry that the phone lines were not open because I would have a great conversation today. So thank you all so much for joining us for Community Voices. We will be right back here. I'll be here on Tuesday, which is the day after Christmas, because I don't celebrate it. Like, I don't know about Toney, but I'll be here next week and I'll be ready to have conversation with you on that day. Hope that somebody else, whenever you get ready, listen if you can.
Yeah, and so I'll be back for that Tuesday show. I'll be back in the following week. And by that time, I will have celebrated another birthday. It's my birthday. So my birthday is on next Saturday. Well, this Saturday, the 23rd. So,
like, wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Thank you all. We'll see y'all next time.